Oh boy, crypto is getting more attention, and this kind of delivers a ton more attention which the crypto needs. And these kind of thought process coming in from Donald Trump is gold, right? When he actually puts in that narrative of ensuring the future of crypto is made in America, that means the family offices, the institutions, the whales, everyone is about to position themselves. And keeping in mind that there is a higher odds that by July the 2nd, you will actually see ETF for Ether. That's another side in the crypto market. And yes, you're watching institutions like Sailor bringing another 700 million more into the Bitcoin side. But then why is the price slowing down? We were at 70,000 plus recently and right now at 66. And that's where the SI family and the thought process we share becomes really important. You should not neglect these kind of thought process because the market was showing you early 2023 there was a double top and then it faked out to the downside and then went back up again, repeated the similar probability of double top and went back up, double top and went back up. Usually double tops are reversal signals to the downside. However, here it is manipulating the market. It is bouncing back up. So what are the odds for next couple of weeks? What are the odds for next 2-3 months? Let's explore that. Welcome to the scientific investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. When the price was still here retesting this, yes, there was a probability that we may be making a double bottom. But as soon as the moving average it started attracting more selling volume down there, I was kind of sure like, okay, this is what's going to happen. The price is going to break to the downside, and that's Ether. And this chart is something which I posted for the group. And for dollar towards the Bitcoin side, it kind of gives you this idea. Okay, we wanted to come back down close to the range 64,500, 64,600, that range, and bounce back up. And we saw that breaking to the downside. But right now, if you zoom in onto Bitcoin side, it clearly shows you the fact that the price came to 64,800. Not precise, 99.9% accuracy, but it still dropped. Now, the next question here remains that this previous range of support in Bitcoin micro, that is 66,400, can that act as a resistance? Because if it does, then that resistance is valid all the way from here, which is May 15th. So you are now talking about a range which has been valid for a month. Yes, it's still short-term gain. We're trying to see what the hell is happening. We want to know if it's reversing. And here we are looking at this direction and plotting that level and seeing which time horizon does it actually match. Is that a 4-hour chart? Is that a daily chart? Because the higher the time frame it is on which it is valid, accurate the idea of that support will be. So here we are watching that 71,600 has been a strong resistance from last 2-3 months. Similarly, the range here around 66,000 is a support. It's not a heavy, strong support like what we have seen here at 61,000. However, that still is a local support. But what we should be looking at, based on the history of what we have seen, is that sometimes these whales don't want you to understand the accurate possibility. They would panic the market, just like what happened early Jan this year. And then the market started rallying. Now, if you actually put that idea into a 3-day chart, you're like, okay, we still respecting the moving average on a 3-day. and you take that idea onto a weekly and you're like, okay, we still have some more room to the downside. The moving average is at 62,000. The price is at 66,000. So even if we remain choppy here for few days, we may still push down to 62. So the weekly candle is kind of giving you that idea, which clearly means the weekly is now getting closer and closer to something like this, which indicates a negative divergence possibility in Bitcoin is now increasing towards 95% odds. Why? This is Friday. You're going to you're already entering the Saturday mark in Asian market. So you literally have another 48 hours to reverse all the way back above 72. Otherwise, it would still be a hanging man, and your possibility of price going down the next week increases. And that can be even volatile. However, if we close somewhat like this, $65,000, $67,000, that will give you a negative divergence, meaning the price stayed here and it repeatedly tested 71,000 plus a couple of times on both segments, whereas the RSI was pointing you to the downside. So even when the price went up to 71, 72, someone on the other side was selling out of this asset. Yes, we see the news like these are the guys who are buying a ton more. Agreed. We understand the thought process of if Trump is going to get in, that is huge for crypto. Because US and a new president like this, last time his stance on crypto was entirely different. This time, if this is the actual stance on which he's getting elected, that means he's not going to change his words. At least that's what I believe, which means a lot more institutional side is going to come into this segment of crypto. That means November, by the time it's going to be clear which direction it's going to go, I believe for most of them who I talk to, they already say, okay, I think this guy is going to win. There is no other way around it. If that's true, crypto is going to have an exceptionally great year. But right now is the question. When you bring in XRP into this equation, where we have already discussed about Bitcoin, where we have already looked at Ether, the thought process of the support level in XRP becomes very, very clear. Remember, if you take last couple of years and ask yourself what the hell you're watching, there was a lot of different thought process, discussions, questions going into the SI family. Few of them asking me, what if this is the creek structure? And I'm like, okay, maybe. But if you actually take this chart on a weekly, ask yourself, do you see a creek here? Because Wyckoff kind of give you a clear idea where the creek formation comes in and where the Wyckoff spring comes in. We had the thought process very clear, very detailed. At this point in time, if you go back in the charts in YouTube, you'll see by 20th March 2023, I was arguing this is the creek and we're going to bounce back towards 0.52. At a time when others were selling you, it's going to be a spring event, you're going to go below 0.3, and a lot of people sold. Instead, the price went up. So you also have a Wyckoff scenario where you really don't have spring. But right now, what XRP is showing you, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, is that this level of support is being tested. So now, if I'm looking at this, I would say, okay, the Wyckoff structure is kind of valid. You still have a valid accumulation range here in which you are now flirting as a reaccumulation range. Now, is it a textbook pattern there? No, it's not. Now, you go back in history and ask the same question. This was a support in XRP and that turned into a resistance, which means this is your accumulation. Perfect. But your reaccumulation happened in here and your mark up phase came after that. So if the history is clear, and this is how you get to see the pattern where your accumulation and reaccumulation is kind of mixed up, that's okay. That's exactly what we are doing now. Unless you break this range of support. If you do break that to the downside, now there should be some valid concerns. Because remember, this trend line is something which we are watching, and if you break that to the downside, it's kind of, what choppy water you are entering onto. It's like a slippery slope which you really don't want to go in XRP side of things. And that's one of the reasons why when anyone asks me, I always say this, at least in the last couple of years. If you don't have another 2 to 5 years for the spot position, don't buy XRP now. If you are saying I have next 3 months, I have next 6 months, most likely this is not the asset which you want to buy. You want to buy an asset which is trending higher with higher highs and a higher low, not lower highs and lower lows. Now, on the price action side of things, you erase everything here, forget about all of that, and look at just the price points. Here in XRP weekly, 14th August, you had one long wick to the downside, which touched 0.4. Great. Now, here we are, we had 8th April 2024, which is another drop touching 0.41. So almost close enough. Now, a couple of those wicks reaching there, which is historical support, historical resistance, means something is happening at that range. The supply, the demand equation at that price point for this particular asset, for some reason, is still valid. When the weekly moving average is saying, I'm trending to the downside, when the 3-day is saying, I'm moving to the downside, when the daily is saying, I'm moving to the downside, I would caution anyone who is interested in this asset saying, okay, either wait for a reversal signal. What would that mean? If you are not familiar on the TA side of things, if you are super optimistic about this asset, you want to see this trend line breaking to the upside, which means you're looking to buy XRP anyway above 0.51. You're happy to buy this in this range. You're super optimistic about this asset. Now say you're a little bit conservative. At that point, you clearly want to see the price breaking above 0.58. That's where you are erasing this segment and making that as a micro accumulation and then moving back up. So yes, that's all on a shorter horizon for XRP precisely. The moment you look at what the general market is doing, you're like, okay, I want to see what the Bitcoin dominance is showing me. Historically speaking, when that breaks to the downside, that's where we get good time. Are we about to reverse here? What do you think? The price went up, it got rejected the first time. The price went up, it stayed there, tested that resistance few days and then got rejected the second time. Third time, here we are, we went on to the same resistance, we are testing that for few days again. We didn't break that to the upside. So as of now, you cannot neglect the possibility it may break to the upside, but the probability, the higher odds, I would argue, is still to the downside. Why? Just put that into a Heikin-Ashi chart. That's a Bitcoin dominance daily on a Heikin-Ashi. It shows you the last and final candle, which we are on now, is showing you a red signal. Now, it's not the daily close yet, so you don't know whether it's going to close on the daily red or not. But right now, as I record, it shows you the downside possibility is increasing. So yeah, now we want to see that in a daily towards a 3-day, then from that 3-day towards a weekly. When we get to see all of that turning, that's exactly where we are euphoric in the altcoin market. In the meantime, you're watching for anything bullish. So if you're a candlestick guy, you're looking at the price action, you're looking at what the market is trying to do, especially with all the speculation of ETF coming in, keep your eyes focused on the price. Stay with the SI family. If you're in Twitter, follow me here. I'll be posting whatever you guys can actually see, especially based on the all scenario, where you understand these plus the charts. If you want to look at what we have posted before, what the thought process is, just like we explained for the Ether, we talked about this scenario. Right now, look at where the price is and what it's doing. So we have these kind of thought process being shared. If you're interested, be a part of the SI family. So guys, if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do that for me. I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye for now.